Hello, everybody. This is Kelly Kleiman with the Prospect Blueprint. We had the pleasure to interview RJ Feigenbaum of the Ghost Baseball Academy. Had a little bit of technical issues, so we were only able to get him on screen. For some reason, Zoom failed us today, but I think you're going to enjoy it. He's a young man, I believe 21 years old, who has 9 teams, knows what he's doing, and the kids have a lot of fun. Here he is, RJ Feigenbaum, Ghost Baseball Academy in Simi Valley. Hello and welcome to the Prospect Blueprint. I'm Kelly Kleiman, your humble host. This is the podcast that helps student athletes, their parents, coaches, and others that support them to chart out their best options to get to the next level, whatever that next level may be. I've got a young entrepreneur with us today, and for those of you guys in the baseball industry, you know that it's not an easy game to win. But this is a young man who's doing a great job. He's heads and tails, and I'll say shoulders as well, above many of you. Hate to say it, but it's true. His name is RJ Feigenbaum, founder of the Ghost Baseball Academy in Simi Valley. How are you doing, RJ?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I haven't done a podcast in a long time. We're flying solo today without Rick Dempsey. Sorry, Rick. Let's ask you a bunch of questions. Find out what is the magic sauce over there. Maybe we want to keep that a secret because we've got some stuff going on there that's really slick. At just 21 years old, you've built Ghost Baseball Academy in Simi Valley to 9 teams under just, 2 years? Pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
What do you attribute that kind of growth to?
I think it has to go with me and my buddy that run the Ghost Baseball Academy. We're young and relatable too. We like to keep things fun while still pushing the kids to get better. So we definitely emphasize competitive practices, make them compete against each other, which makes the practices a lot more fun for them. And then we reward their hard work at the end of practice as well. And then also we make the practices harder than the games. So they compete more in practice. They pitch or face pitching. That's a lot harder than in the games. That makes it more competitive for them. We play better in the games, and then in that case, our name grows bigger. More people want to join. They see that we can develop their kids to get to the next level.
Yeah, so it's super development focused as opposed to the same routine that most travel ball teams are involved in. You go in, you do your warm up, you do the same stuff every time, and once in a while they let their hair down a little bit at the end with some kind of game. That's what works for you. And being younger, I think younger kids from the ages of 9 to 14 probably relate better to somebody who looks like them, sort of sounds like them, but they can look up to almost as a big brother as opposed to a parent. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting still being at the young age. The kids go through these like phases, all the different memes that they go through, the TikTok and all that. Me and my buddy will see them like a week before, and they're like, oh, great, this is going to be the next big meme that's going to come out. All the kids will start saying it. So it's definitely a lot better being younger because we're able to relate to them. We know what they're talking about, know what they're seeing on the internet. So it's definitely a lot easier being younger, being able to relate to the kids.
Well, when parents join your program for ages 9 to 14, what does a typical development pathway look like for their player?
So what we like to really focus on is we think that it's very important for the kids to play multiple positions because you don't know exactly how it's going to be once you get to high school. It could be a freshman that's already going to go to a D1 school. He's already talented enough. So you got to be able to be mobile, move to different positions. So we don't focus on just locking a kid down in one position. We make sure that we develop them in multiple spots. We also have like thinking that all of our kids should be able to pitch. We keep all of our kids on a pitch count per the weekend. We don't like to go kill their arms at a young age because it's not important at this age to win a 3-cent ring. So we more focus on like developing all our players that want to pitch. We develop them on that path. We focus on making sure that they're athletic enough to play multiple positions, and that's also something we add into our practice. We also sometimes play like different sports as the fun at the end. We'll play some soccer, we'll play some football, just to make sure that they're staying more athletic, which we think is important to make it at the high school level and at the college level.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a good formula. What do you think is the problem with most of these youth baseball programs? Where do they get it wrong when it comes to player development, and how does Ghost do it differently? You just sort of touched on it for the most part.
Yeah, I think a lot of programs around, they just focus on getting the 2 wins at the end of the day, winning the championship. But for us, it's more important to rotate our guys around. Because if we just lock a guy in at third base, that, hey, you're playing there for the whole season, that gives us the best chance to win. That's not the best for every single kid on the team. That's not the best for his development either, because he could get into high school, college, and third base is locked up, and he's got to go find another position to play on the field if he wants to make the team or get playing time.
You mean you don't relegate a player to PO to PO at age 9?
Unfortunately, no, not at age 9.
You give them a chance. I hear so much of that. Kids who want to play at the next level and they say I pitch and I play the field, so I'm a two-way guy. So if you're a decent pitcher but you want to play the field, never tell a recruiting coach that you pitch because you will be a pitcher, especially at the D1
Hmm.
level. There's very few two-way guys. So
Hmm.
that's kind of good to know that you're doing that. Of course, I don't think there's anyone really doing POs at age 9. I certainly hope not. How do you approach recruiting players? Are you actively scouting, which I doubt, or is most of your growth coming from word of mouth and reputation?
Yeah, most of it's word of mouth. We do post like some flyers like when we're making new teams on social media, but most of it is word of mouth. And we're lucky enough to have good families that enjoyed our coaching style, and they spread it through word of mouth and also social media.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. There's no stealing players. There's no stealing little Jimmy from the 10U so you could win a U trip, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have better things to do than go scout a 9U game, but maybe in the future we'll look into getting a professional scout for that.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of tournaments, there's a million tournament options. How do you decide which ones are actually worth your team's time and development?
So for us, we don't travel and do like these big tournaments like all like the perfect games in like Florida, for example, or all that stuff. We do like to have like give the parents an option to do like one big trip a year. So like in January we did the Martin Luther King out in Las Vegas, which was pretty fun for them. But for the main part, we stay local. We do our local Sunday league, local tournaments. We don't see a need to go travel out and go play in these like scout ball tournaments because they're not going to get truly looks until like 14, getting into high school age. So for us, it's just mainly getting our reps in, making sure that we're playing teams that are at the same level as us, maybe even a little bit higher, so we get pushed a little bit. But yeah, we stay local. Don't want to travel out too much.
Yeah. Well, I think the looks are coming more at 16. It's kind of interesting how MLB has decided to structure their drafts now. What they're doing is going after last year, they went after a lot of high school players to get them in the
Mm-hmm.
development cycle as quickly as they possibly could because they don't want to lose that prospect to college and then they get lost in the shuffle. They don't have access to them. They figure if they could offer them just enough money, if they pick them just high enough, it's going to be more attractive than the kids shooting off to college, which I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed, which was a trend that I think, they always surprise me. Before it was most of the focus was for JUCO players, minimally. Some high school players, mostly those who were big bodied and whose fathers had played previously. They had some bloodline in MLB. And now they've gotten to, hey, we got to get out there and find some of these high school guys and we got to sign them
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to be out of our purview at some point and they're
Yeah.
going to be taking bigger money in college if indeed that happens. So one of the biggest challenges for families is definitely balancing schedules. And we see that in CBL as well, which is the Cage Baseball League. We'll talk about that in a minute. How do you structure your program to keep it competitive without overwhelming players and parents?
So for what we do our 3 practices a week. We don't like it's not a mandatory practice per se. And if players have problems getting to those practices, we can invite them out to our other teams. We're really flexible with their schedules in that way.
Yeah.
We don't try to play like that many games in a month. Like I see some teams doing like 4 tournaments a month where we're playing every single weekend. And me and my buddy are true believers that development comes in practice, and games are like where you showcase your development. So if you're not putting in the time in practice, then there's no point in even playing games. So we emphasize that you need to work hard at practice so your game reps get better. And then we don't want to overdo tournaments so we don't kill our arms. We want to make sure we keep our pitch counts down per month. So at max, we're playing like 8 games a month. On the lower end, when we're doing our Sunday league, we're playing like 4 to 5 games a month. So
Mhm.
we definitely tone down games compared to other programs, but we believe the development comes in practice.
Well, you're introducing the Cage Baseball Hit Tracks League. What gap does that fill that traditional games and practices don't, other than a lot of fun?
I think it's really competitive in the sense that you can also be focusing on your game swings, getting those off, and seeing instant results, which you normally don't see in a practice setting. And then also you can have a coach talking to you, which is a little more of a practice sense in that, where the development will be a little bit higher. So it's like the perfect blend in my mind between a game setting where we're getting our game reps on, and then we're also working on our development, which comes from practice, where our parents, or sorry, not the parents, the coaches are able to instantly give feedback, instantly give help on the player as they're swinging.
Yeah. That's it. It's more than anything, it's almost like when you think about it, the kids are growing up today and they're ensconced in video games. And when you can combine the two where they're playing in a video game at any ballpark in MLB that they want, and they get to see the results, and they get an at bat every 4 minutes as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
every 40 minutes, and you know that they're going to get quality at bats in that hour. I think that that adds an element. It's also almost like being in a boxer's corner where a coach could be watching it, and in a game it's really, you can't really tell a kid what to do. You just frustrate them at the plate. But in this kind of a situation, you're literally there in their corner, and you can
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, look, keep your chin in a little bit, or you get that front foot down quicker, whatever the deal is. They're also looking at little Joey, who might be a better hitter, and they get to see how he does it, and it starts kicking in because they're not chewing seeds and spitting stuff out and playing around and goofing off in the dugout. They're actually attentive to the game.
Mm-hmm.
But good points. What do you believe getting consistent, concentrated at bats each week is so? And I should say, why do you, not what, but why do you think it's so critical for these players' development, especially at the youth level? It's kind of a rhetorical question almost, because we know that that's absolutely critical.
Mm. I think it's important at a young age to like be able to flip the switch and start focusing on your at bat.
Yeah.
We do a lot of lessons with high school guys here as well, and it's astonishing to me. Like some of the guys have never been taught like a routine in the box to start getting focused on the pitcher. So it's just important at a young age to start developing that skill, to start locking in when you're on the on deck circle in the hole, starting to picking up cues from the pitcher, start locking in on the little things. So I think it's important in that sense for them to get the mindset right of, hey, I'm taking an actual IB here. I need to get in the box, get focused, get set how I do in a game. So that game reps become a lot easier in that sense because you practice it 100 times in the last month.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. That's pretty much what our philosophy is. Get a lot of at bats, get a lot of concentrated at bats, and I think that a lot of travel teams are just stuck in a routine. I think they get bored with it. But let's talk about you, because you played ball. I know that you went to Royal High
Mm-hmm.
School in Simi Valley. Tell me about your high school experience. Tell me about your travel experience, your high school experience, and then how did it shape the way you decided to come into the coaching ranks as you are now?
So for me, I played travel just basically in the summer until like my 12U year, and then I started doing it year round along with rec ball. I played at SYB. And then got into high school, played shortstop, pitched, ended up winning CIF my senior year, got player of the year. So that was all pretty fun. And then my senior year of high school, I actually got invited out to come help one of my old coaches' teams. So I got to go back, help the younger kids out at SYB. I ended up coaching the All-Star team during the summer as well. So I didn't get that sense it was just like a perfect fit for me. I ended up going to college at Cal playing there. But I didn't really want to be stuck in like a desk job or like behind a desk doing stuff like same thing day to day. I want to stay involved in baseball because I love the game, and I ended up falling in love with coaching, giving back to the kids. So it was just like kind of a natural fit for me. Kind of just fell into my hands, or like, hey, this is what you could do for the rest of your life. Stay involved in baseball, and I ended up loving it. So stuck here 2 years later, still loving it. So got to be doing something right.
And you're doing a great job. You're way ahead of the game when it comes to this. So your career pretty much paralleled JJ Frazier over there at where he
Hmm.
was at Royal.
Hmm.
I think probably the same. Was he 1 year older than you, or
Yeah, so he was a sophomore when I was freshman, so he's 1 year older than me.
where did he? So he went to Calu as well. So, oh yeah, you
Hmm.
guys went to you guys been each other's ear for a long time, right?
Oh yeah.
So tell me about your experience in college baseball. It was on the D3 level, which is great. And was it a lot like you expected it to be? Do you feel as though players got a fair shake to make the starting lineup, get their innings? Where did you see the where perception and reality either clashed or moved along uh, swimmingly, so to speak?
For me, so I wouldn't change anything that I did because it landed me in this spot, and I think everything happens for a reason. So I wouldn't change it. But going back 4 years ago, I would have said undersized guy like me, like I'm 5'9", only 160. So I think the junior college route would have been better for me and given me a better shot to develop for 2 more years, then get a chance to play for more length. But I think the COVID really messed everything up a little bit. So we're even at the D3 level, we were getting like 6 transfers a year come in, juniors and seniors. You're all 6'3", big, look like men compared to me. So they're all coming in, playing, taking time away from guys that actually been there for the 2+ years developing. But I think it's the perception needs to change where junior college isn't like a bad route to take, especially for some athletes. So it's not just the D1 or bust mentality anymore. It's more of you got to go where's right for you. And if you just want to play, then I think junior college is a great route as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great developmental route, and of course, COVID did ruin it for a lot of guys. But
Mhm.
I don't know if ruining it really is probably the right terminology to use because it gave them an opportunity to bounce back to JUCO, a lot of them, and to develop. So they
Mhm.
increased their value to wherever they wanted to end up, whatever four-year school they wanted to end up. I think it actually increased a lot of their value, and I saw that. I experienced that individual personally, and through the family and all. So it makes a lot of sense. So it's good that you're advocating for JUCO because I think it's a great route,
Mhm.
and you're going to be competing, but it's not going to be as tough as trying to get a starting job in the D1 lineup, which is really tough. In fact, RJ, I saw some fairly decent players last year from the A10 actually bounce back to JUCO after hitting,
Mhm.
270, 280. They went back to JUCO, got more reps. I haven't really followed them, but I think a couple of them probably increased their value substantially. And they
Mhm.
are paying people to play baseball now. I again experienced that firsthand. They pay people a surprising amount, not nearly as much as they do basketball or football. But that's not why you get into it. You get into it because you want to have fun. You want to play as long as you
Mhm.
possibly can. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. And so there's a big event coming up on April 7th, Tuesday night. Tell me about it. I know all about it, but the good folks need to hear it from you.
So we ended up partnering with Cage Baseball League. So we're going to be doing a demo night, which means that anyone is welcome to come in. We're going to be getting the live reps like you guys would when you sign up for the league. We'll split up into a couple teams. You guys will get at bats off the hit track, so you'll be able to see your root numbers, exit velocity, launch angle, everything like that. And I think it'll be a fun event for everybody. Just come get a taste of it, see if you guys like it. I'm sure you guys will. And you guys get signed up for the league that's going to be happening here at Ghost Baseball Academy starting around mid-April.
Yeah. And when you think about it, it's just one night a week for an hour. And then, of course, there's the BP beforehand that's thrown into the deal. You can't beat it. So appreciate the promo, by the way. Pretty good at that.
Absolutely.
Gotta tell you. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Kelly Kleiman. That is RJ Feigenbaum of the Ghost Baseball Academy in Simi Valley. You're listening to the podcast that smart people listen to. It's called the Prospect Blueprint. And if you're a prospect, share, like, comment, and follow us. You could also contact me, and if I can help you, I'd be happy to do so. Bye-bye for now.